You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump. And you might think, what if I fall? Well, what if you don't? What if you fly?
Switching command to internal.
From the Collaborative Studios, Open the Eye, where metaphysical, paranormal, and the unexplained meet. Open the Eye with Tanya Tyler.
There are times in life where we go through our journey and we meet different people that make us stop in our tracks and go, oh, okay, interesting. Because they're so intriguing, they have gifts that are beyond what we can even imagine. And I meet a lot of you out there, and it's always intriguing to me. Jules, I'm so excited to be able to have you share some of your amazing journey that you've been on and your gifts that you have. You're not asking people for money, but you do help people along their journey as well. Am I correct?
That's correct. And it's an honor too.
Yeah, I love the stuff you do. So it was really exciting to have you on the show tonight and to just kind of open up your bag of gifts that you have. So let's start from the beginning.
I was thinking about this earlier. The beginning is where our patterns start. And I think our journey in life is about becoming aware of our patterns and our limiting beliefs and shedding them so that our true, authentic selves can shine through. And we're all these channels of divine light. And the more we shed, the more our light shines. And the more we want to shine it, not for ourselves, not for attention, but as a service, as a connection to one another. And my journey started the youngest of 10 children. So my patterns were inevitably going to be feeling like my needs weren't met. And because of that, maybe feeling unloved and abandoned. And so, and the victim of circumstances in my household. And so my journey has been to have the world reflect those patterns back to me, to overcome them, and to go from victim to student. And by that, I mean feeling disempowered and life happening to me, to writing my own story and learning from it. I heard someone say recently that our challenges and traumas and mistakes in life aren't meant to be life sentences. They're meant to be lessons. And as a victim, you hold on to it like a life sentence.
So true.
And it's crushing. So that's kind of where it started. And then in my marriage, I didn't realize, my thing to survive in my big family was to shrink myself and shrink my energy. Didn't know that's what I was doing. But in my marriage, I shrank my energy and I got smaller and smaller and smaller. And so when that ended, I was, devastated and crushed, and it was horrible. But it was ultimately a blessing because it allowed me to recognize how small I had gotten. And when those things happen, I think it's the universe's way or divine hand's way of guiding you back into something of your unique, authentic self to discover it.
I love that. I love that thought process, and I like how you talked about the belief systems because it's so true. Let's start where you are, and then let's go backwards because now, currently, you are sitting in a place that's interesting to me.
Yeah. I'm disabled and homebound, and have been for about 17 years from a failed spinal fusion surgery. And even a decade before that was in chronic pain. The journey has been, goodness.
With your back injury, your surgery, it started 10 years prior to that. Can you give any, ideas of why? Why did you have some back issues? Do you know?
I think it was that it's low back, which is about feeling safe and secure in the world, and I didn't. I was recovering from a divorce. I was, working 3 jobs with 2 kids, a mortgage and a car note, and just on survival mode. And I think the back was trying to talk to me, and I just didn't understand the language of energy at the time. So I went to physical, and I believe that we we incarnate as an intention, and around this intention that forms a horror line forms an energy field. And from that energy field, the body grows. And so our experiences happen that way too. Illnesses, they enter our energy field first, and we can clear them and sense them there. And if we don't, it enters our body, and it's there to help us ultimately. But if we don't get the message, it just gets louder and louder and louder. Right? And I wasn't getting the message. It got louder and louder till my legs came out from under me one day and stopped working. And I had a surgery, and it didn't go well. And then I'd run out of medical leave, so I lost my health insurance. So I didn't get any follow-up care. And because I wasn't getting follow-up care, my disability insurance stopped paying me. And then I found myself homeless, couch surfing. And man, did that feed my victim narrative really well.
How long were you couch surfing for?
8 months.
That's a long time.
It was a hard journey. And when the disability insurance finally paid me again, and that's when I moved to Lakeway, and I found myself in this place that was like home. I have a home again. And like within weeks, they threatened to stop paying me again. I was like, what are you trying to do? And I happened to meet a Reiki practitioner. And I walked into this Reiki session just thinking, literally my thought on my way there was, are they trying to get me to kill myself? I was that deep in a hole.
Mm.
And I got on that table and got so relaxed that I went to sleep. And I walked in there in a state and left just thinking, what in the world was that?
Before you go too far into the Reiki, tell me a little bit about how you got to the Reiki piece, meaning energy work. So how did you get to, hey, I'm open to doing energy work? We're going to revisit your journey with the homeless and, getting to that place. And
there were breadcrumbs along the way. Even during my divorce, when that was going on, there was Dr. Christian Northrup on PBS and Wayne Dyer, both Hay House authors with Louise Hay's work. And I bought books, and I didn't even realize till later that I actually bought Louise Hay's books at the time, but I never read them. So it was like the universe was putting me on this path at all the different crossroads in my life, and it just took me a few extra train wrecks to get on it. I met an acupuncturist before my surgery, and I could really feel things happening. I was fascinated by it and was being introduced to this concept of energy. But I was still stuck in, there's a physical thing, well, and there was, granted, but only surgery will fix it. Couldn't even fathom that energy could.
Did you connect with energy work when you were a little girl?
I didn't know that's what it was, but I did.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And how old were you?
I would have been in the 4th grade. I had a couple of instances in church where I felt out of body almost, and felt a presence of divine feminine when I think back of it now. And it's funny because I didn't ever cling to it, but it's never left me. It's like I can feel it now when I remember back to it. It was like a warm, beautiful hug. It was love. It was, gonna make me cry.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's the best kind. It's just when you're touched by the divine like that. It's just this sensation of being held and being safe.
Mm.
And I didn't know what it meant, and I don't know why I didn't. I was little, and I remember that happening a couple of times, and then in middle school, knowing when teachers were pregnant before they were showing, or having a dream about it, and then them announcing it a few months later.
Wow.
Things like that would happen. Little intuitive things, but I didn't know enough to notice. And so, I think it's these moments in our life when we do search because we're in pain, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, and all of a sudden we do turn to something to look for an answer because somehow we know. Whereas well, we think it's something outside of ourselves. But the beauty of this journey is it goes from being outside of you, reaching for it, to discovering that it's within you, that you're connected to it, and always were.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's just
love.
It's love, and it brings peace, and it's unconditional. I've been blessed in my life to meet people who were able to stay in a state of unconditional love. And that is so healing, because you get to, you have all these defenses and these things that you don't say, or, oh, am I late, or was that awkward, or after a while in the presence of someone who holds unconditional love, you realize that you don't have to worry about that. And you can just be you.
So you had a little bit of this in your childhood, but you weren't really aware too much of what it was. Besides the acupuncture, when did you start noticing things coming to you?
Well, things like I would walk into a bookstore, and the things that came to me and I ignored, for instance, I don't know if you're familiar with the Course in Miracles, but during my back journey, but before my surgery and before the acupuncture, I was in a bookstore, and I see this big book, blue book, and it's in cellophane wraps. You can't open it. There's no description on the back. It just says A Course in Miracles. And I thought to myself, I could use a miracle. And I bought it and brought it home. Finances were tough at the time. I thought, you know what? I returned it before I opened it. I bought a whole stack of books, and that's one of the ones I decided to return. But now it's such an important book in my life. It's like, yep, I just turned. I heard that knock and didn't answer the door that time, too. I always knock again.
Have a little sample of it, but maybe not the whole meal. So,
exactly.
So you're homebound, and you've been homebound for how long?
Since 2007.
Okay, long time.
Yeah.
And you can get around a little bit. You're very limited on that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And the way that it works now, I've had some recent extensive physical therapy that's helped. I can get around, but I pay for mobility. I pay for activity. It increases pain level, and so I kind of manage it. But I'm right now I'm pushing limits a little bit, to see. I don't want to be like in a bird cage with the door open and forget to fly out.
Yeah.
But it's a management of chronic pain, and that's another thing that this has been amazing for, because I used to be on copious amounts of pain medication for this. Now I take none.
Oh, wow.
Meditation and this connection, presence, is my opiate now. It's how I manage my pain. And there are some days, granted, where it consumes my awareness and I can't get out of it. The pain does, and then I just say a prayer and take a nap, and then wake up in a little better state. And if I can get into meditation, then my awareness kind of goes behind me and observes the pain, but it dulls it. It's just not it's not consuming my awareness. And when I go into a deep meditative state, it disappears.
That's amazing. The meditation, I mean, there's so much research now coming for meditation of the healing of the body and the mind. It's unbelievable. And we're grateful for that. I know University of San Diego is doing a huge one with Dr. Dispenza right now on meditation and what it does for the brain waves. Let's go back to being a victim on couch surfing. You finally get out of that. You get some money. You get into your own place in Lakeway, Texas. And that's where you are. How do you get your mind shifted? Because I know a lot of people do get somewhat stuck in that woo me kind of thing. And it's heavy. It's not like, oh, I want to be there. It's heavy to get out. I always say you're in the bottom of the well. Crawl your way up out of there. How you were able to do that?
Well, it started with, first of all, I get a pain management doctor who would prescribe books to read and talk crystals to me. So I remember the first time he muscle tested me in his office to see if it was the right medication, and I thought, what kind of quack is this? I almost didn't go back, and I'm so glad I did. So he prescribed the book, The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle.
Great book.
Great book. And so that was that was a big foundational piece too. And then my son's best friend, all through school, sweet gal. They were in karate together when they were kids, and she came over and she talked about her aunt from a close friend, not a true relative, who had a store in Lakewood called Soul Reflections. And it was owned by two women, Sammy and Robbie. And I went, and my world changed. They did Reiki. They taught Reiki. They had massage therapy. They had drumming circles. It was just kind of a metaphysical shop. I had that one Reiki session before I came to Lakeway, so I knew about Reiki. It relaxed me. I knew there was something to it. So I signed up for a Reiki session. And this one was like none other I had before. Sound distorted. I got up off the table and decided I needed to paint and went and spent $600 at the art store.
It's interesting you said this. I've heard a couple times as people are going through their journey, they go through this painting phase. And a few people that have been on the show. And I actually, 2 years ago, went through a painting phase where I was like actually painting anything I could get my hands on. I was painting rocks and I was painting, bricks. I mean, I just went through a painting phase. So it's interesting you say that because paint must have it must be a healing.
Do you know what I think it is? Creativity, to me, is the most reverent form of prayer. It's being in affinity with the Creator, with the divine, being like them. And we are like the Creator, right? It's just covered up with our stories and our life and our traumas and our stress and our baggage. And as we start to lift off some of the baggage, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want to paint. Oh, I want to write. Oh, I want to make music. I think it's because more of the Creator is flowing through us.
It's so beautiful. I love it. You get on this Reiki table and it changes your life. How long ago was that?
That was in 2010.
Okay, so 14 years ago.
Yeah. And so then you just start following the breadcrumbs. Once you know there's something that you didn't have a clue was real before, then you start seeking, right? Mm-hmm. And so the practitioner recommended a book called The Deep Breath of Life, which is like a daily anecdotal story, affirmation, lovely. I still reference it every day.
What's the book called?
It's called A Deep Breath of Life, I think by Alan Cohen.
Okay, thank you.
I've got it here somewhere. And I just happened to look on the back of it, and it was published by Hay House. And I went, oh, Hay House Publishing. Oh, Hay House Radio. Well, that's interesting. And started listening to Hay House Radio.
Isn't it interesting? Hay House Radio. I used to listen to Hay House Radio years ago. I don't even know. I'm sure they're still around. Are they? I don't even know.
Hay House Publishing is around, but I don't think it's not formatted the same way. The radio programs aren't.
Yeah. I remember talking to Doreen Virtue on the radio. Yeah. And so that was years ago before, she has shifted now. But yeah, so Hay House Radio, that's interesting. But Louise Hay was an amazing person. I mean, she absolutely was an amazing person. She's no longer in this physical form, but she did a lot, and she was very instrumental in the publishing for bringing this to so many people.
Yes. And, one of my favorite stories about her, because I'm let's see, how old am I? I'll be 63 later this year. And I love the fact that she started Hay House Publishing when she was 60.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And her journey through cancer and how she was just like, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And she was so determined. If anybody has a chance to ever read her book or intrigued with it, I highly recommend any Louise Hay books. But so that daily affirmation that you read was published by Hay House. What an interesting thing. Let's bring you up to speed a little bit. You can get around.
Yes.
You have bad days and good days. Tell us a little bit about some of this energy work that you started doing or you started coming into. So going from victim, I'm still back on that, is so huge. Yes. I mean, that's hard to get out of. I mean, some people die and their whole entire life is living in the victimhood and they don't realize it.
Hay House was a big instrumental thing in that. Through Hay House, I learned about Deborah King. and she is a master healer and a fabulous teacher, meditation teacher, and she teaches a Hindu mantra-based meditation and sutras. But at the time, I'm on a fixed income. I'm still, periodically my income is disappearing for months at a time, and so it's not like I can buy programs. So I'm finding all the free content I can. And then I won, through the radio program, I won some of her books, and I won attendance to one of their I Can Do It conferences virtually online. And so I'd had a sense now with Reiki about feeling energy. I could feel something happening. But the concept of it happening over the computer was like, yeah, right. Then I went to this workshop and I felt it. And I was blown away. I was like, how can that be? And then you begin to learn, there is no time and space when it comes to energy or distance. And so a recording that you see something in Energy Healer on YouTube that was recorded 10 years ago, you can feel it today by going and watching that video. But that just blew my mind. So another paradigm shift. And so eventually I was able to start meditating from her. And then I got her meditation was through a workshop. So I got to watch her workshop. And then, I saw what she did on stage with people. The energy work that she did, and I could feel it. My body's starting to buzz talking about it. Feel it. I could witness it. I saw people's lives transformed. At the time, it wasn't at first, I want to do that. It's like, I want to see her.
I want to feel that. I want to feel it.
I want to be healed, Right. And I think that's how we all get on this journey is we have something to be healed, and we're looking for healing. And ultimately, it goes from that to this awareness of something we never knew was possible, opens our minds, shifts our perceptions. I had another profound experience I want to tell you about.
Oh, please do.
And it was with reconnective healing, Dr. Eric Pearl's work. It was a Unity church here in town. My Reiki practitioner was going to be there. I wasn't sure if I could go or not. I was, mobility-wise. But it was a Unity fair. And I thought, I'd forgotten some cards of hers, and I'm just going to bring them to her. And when I got there, I thought, you know what? I'm going to stay. And you could sample people's work. And I got on the table of this reconnective healing practitioner. No clue what it was. I was like, is it like Reiki? And she said, well, sort of, but it's not hands-on. I won't be touching you. And I laid on this table, and automatically I felt like she turned on this huge fan. I was like, well, that's weird. Like this wind was just blowing around me. And I started to feel energy at my feet. And my eyes were just closed, and she said, just notice what you notice. And I'm noticing this energy going up my legs, and then it would pause, like it paused at my low back where my back injury is. And then I could feel it build up and then push past it and go up. And it got to my heart, and I didn't, there are no words for it. It was like, the only closest word I could find at the time was nirvana. I would just tell people it was like I was given a tiny taste of what heaven feels like. It was life-changing. So then once you have that, I think that's the way the divine does it too. They give you a tiny taste and then go, okay, look for it. So I started looking. And even down to, I went to the bookstore one time, in that aisle where all the metaphysical things are and self-help books. And all of a sudden I noticed this warmth and this hug-type sensation around my back, which I now recognize as like a guide at the time. And then I walked down the aisle and it disappeared. They played hot and cold with me and brought me to a book.
No.
Yes.
How incredible.
And it was a book on sacred geometry. So I bought it. And there have been times, like I was at a half-price bookstore one time looking for the book Proof of Heaven. And I was sitting on the floor because that was easier to look than standing, going through the shelves. And a book fell on my head. And I picked it up and I put it back on the shelf, and it fell on my head again. It was the third time when I went, oh, I'm supposed to read that one.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
I want to go back to the table. When you got off the table, you felt like it was nirvana. Your heart was opening, you said.
Oh, I know. And people the whole day would then go, they would kind of look at me and go, wow. I was like, what? What is going on? But I just felt like I was gliding. You know, I have my walker and I'm walking, but I felt, instead of feeling like I was crippled and hardly moving, I felt like I was gliding, not even feet on the ground.
Do you feel like that was a huge shift for you?
It was a huge shift for me. Shortly after that, I had a friend of mine's sister had cancer. And I hadn't known, and her husband worked out of town, and people would sign up to go stay with her. And I wanted to help her. I wanted to go stay. I didn't know if I could because I was home all the time. I thought, well, you know what? I can lay on her couch instead of my couch, and she's not alone, and I'll have someone on standby if there's an emergency that can come help. But so we'll try it out and see what happens. So I signed up, and the day that I get in the car to go, every road to get to her is a parking lot traffic jam. And the person who had spent the night had to go to work, so she was now alone. And I'm stressing out. So I call her, and I'll never forget it. She said, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the view. Wow. And to this day, in traffic or something, it's like, gives you a minute to look at the trees on the side of the road. I had decided to try and learn Reiki. I took like a level 1 Reiki with the practitioner. So as she was getting sicker, when they told her we're stopping treatment, my Reiki practitioner came over and we did Reiki together. It was the first person I ever did Reiki on, or with, I should say. And I was nervous, and I said a little prayer, just guide me where to put my hands. And in the middle of it, literally, I felt a hand lift my hand up and reposition it.
Oh, wow. That is
Those
amazing.
3 months with Peggy were some of the most beautiful months of my life. I mean, we lost her, but the journey that we took together.
Lost her in the physical plane, but she's probably with you, helping you on your journey now.
So with me. Down to one time I was stuck in traffic late for a Reiki appointment, and somebody came by and enjoyed the view. It was on the back of their window.
No.
Yeah.
I love that just gave me chills. I love that kind of stuff. Jules, we're going to take a little break. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you are helping others now on their journey, doing some of the work that you are with their bodies, through your bodies. You can always stream us every Monday night, 10 p.m. Central on kwvh.org. I'm Tanya Tyler. This is Open the Eye, and you can email anytime, any question, anything. Open the eye, just like your eyeball, number 13 at gmail.com. We'll be right back with Jules and find out a little bit more about how she is helping others on her journey. We're back. We're talking to Jules. She is an energy practitioner and just an average person just like you and I. She has gone through so much in her life. She has been homeless. She had a severe back spinal infusion that went bad. She lost insurance. She was living in the victimhood part of our lives that we get stuck into. I always call it the dark night of the soul. She has pulled herself up. She is still housebound, but she's doing some incredible energy work. The reason why I wanted to bring her on the show tonight was because we all have these amazing gifts and we all get stuck. I've talked about me getting stuck in some sorrow and not being able to get out of it. We are all just human, living in this human body, but we're also spiritual beings. And Jules has so much love in her heart, just as everyone that she touches. Jules, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing now on helping others in their journey as you're still going through your own journey. Are you learning Reiki from someone right now, or are you just helping do Reiki? What does this look like?
I just did the level 1 Reiki, so I didn't continue with that. I ended up, because of my reconnective healing experience, I ended up being trained to be a reconnective healing practitioner, but I've never practiced it.
What is reconnective healing?
My experience with it is getting attuned to the awareness of this energy, this field of energy, of light and information, of wisdom, what I call God. And it's getting attuned to become aware of it, and you feel it in your hands. Actually, eventually you feel it in your whole body, but you start feeling it in your hands, and just learn to just play with it. Feel it between your hands. And then one of the exercises, in the initial exercise, they had someone put their hand up in front of you, and you put your hands on either side of it, with space between it. And as you feel the frequencies, that person's hand might move, and they're not moving it just moves. But to me, it's becoming aware of these beautiful frequencies of the divine. And in so doing, the person that you're intending to share it with, they start remembering it. So it's not like sending it. It's like being this resonant field and it impacting the person in front of you.
Oh, wow.
Which is what I think what we're all here to do, is to become aware, to shed our stories and be attuned to this life force that flows through us all the time. And as our stories shed, then our bodies start to vibrate at higher frequencies. And just being, you don't have to do anything, just being present and grounded in those frequencies, in the presence of another, they begin to remember that they are that too.
It's similar to Reiki, but it's not.
Yeah, I think it's all really the same thing, just different approaches, like different languages with a different face. Everybody's talking about the same thing, but they're using a different language and a slightly different lens. Because here's my other thing.
Okay.
When you have an experience where you touch the divine, and I'll have the big one for you next that I'll share with you.
Okay.
The biggest so far. I hope there's more. You can't put it into words. The minute you put it into words, you have limited it. It's smaller, because words can't. It's impossible to encapsulate this thing. It's just indescribable. It's love and it's peace and it's joy and it's compassion. It's everything. And once you try to put it into words, you've made it smaller. It's like putting it in a box, but at least it's a box of it,
Yeah.
And you want to share that. And my theory is that as soon as you put dogma around it, it makes it even smaller, and you put rules around it, and okay, it's still in there, but it's just harder to get to.
Yeah.
So it's getting out of the box and remembering that presence, and then your body starts to ring it like a bell.
So how long is a session of reconnective energy? Is it like an hour? About an hour?
Yeah, it's usually about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it's
30 minutes to 45. It just depends. I always like to, the times that I've done reconnective healing and any of the energy work that I do, I like to have a debriefing afterwards to talk about what they experienced, what I might have heard during it. While reconnective healing is in my arsenal of energy work, the big thing that happened for me is I started channeling one day.
Okay.
During a Reiki session. And that was mind-blowing, because I was aware of channelers, but, it wasn't like I was going, I want to do that.
First of all, channeling is connecting to a collective of beings or a being and allowing them to come through you. Maybe even use your voice and your nervous system, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So they came through. Do you know who you're channeling?
The very first time, the words came out where my name is Mary of Magdala.
Okay.
And I was, again, a paradigm-shifting experience. And my hands move. So there's energy. I'm feeling into energy. I feel energy. I feel things in my body when I channel. But that was the beginning.
Let's go back to the first session that you started channeling. Words started coming out.
Yes.
Is that the first time when you heard Mary?
Yes.
And what was the information that came out?
She said, when the time is right, I want you to be my voice, and you will be healed.
That's
so
amazing.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
And here's the beautiful thing: when I have a channeling session, and sometimes channeling it's the collective, it's the Elohim. Sometimes it's somebody's guide.
Do you give them information? The person that you're connecting to. Do you give them the information? Do you say it out loud?
Yes, I say it out loud, and there's energy work being done through me at the same time.
Okay.
So there are sometimes initiations that occur where their light, where in the process of our talking and the energy work, they clear something and then more of their light comes in. And that's an initiation where you can embody more of your soul, basically.
Sessions that you're doing, are you doing them in front of someone physically, or are you doing it through online?
Initially, it was just in person. The pandemic made us realize that we could do it over Zoom.
Isn't that amazing to you? I mean, doesn't
yeah.
that just blow your mind? I mean, of course we can. Of course we can.
Yeah.
That's what energy is. I mean, we can do it anywhere.
And I've done some just over the phone. I like in person best. But, again, these are friends and a small group of a spiritual community that we do this. But it is by far the most humbling, beautiful, healing experience to be a part of. And then you learn through everybody's messages, gems of wisdom. And here's the thing. I'm feeling it. Like as the message is coming through, I'm feeling the energy of the message. Like it makes complete sense. Yeah, of course. That's the way. That's what it is. Or of course that's the best path or the answer or whatever. But when I come out of it, I'm like in a trance state. I don't remember any of it. Unless we talk about it. That's why I like to debrief. I'll remember bits and pieces, and once we start to talk, I'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that now.
Can you talk, without obviously opening up the client information, but can you talk about like some of the information you get for that person? Is it like some information they're looking for, or is it something that they had no clue? Is it from a dead relative, or what does that look like?
It's so individual. Like sometimes it's like they have, they feel stuck or there's something going on that's bothering them that's on their mind. And then in the process of talking, like I might find a chord or something. I say I'm not doing any of it. They might find a chord and my hands are working in the ethers the whole time, right? And so we'll pull the cord, and sometimes they just, they can feel a release from it, and other times it like opens them up for an initiation.
When you say a cord, can you explain a little bit what a cord is?
An energetic cord, from what I understand and my experience of feeling them, is just when we cord to everything around us. Things, people, relationships, stories.
So when somebody says we need to cut some of those cords, the cords, we just automatically shoot cords. They're energy cords that we get from another person. As we think of someone, we're shooting that energy cord to them. Is that what?
Yes.
That's what your
right.
information is. Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes cords, they stay connected, and sometimes there's good energy going back and forth, and sometimes it's not good energy for us, or it's draining. They're pulling energy from us. And subconsciously, that most people don't realize they're doing it. So you have to as you begin to get in tune with your body and your energy field, you begin to realize, like my low back, I was so still corded to my ex-husband back there. It was amazing.
Did you cut those cords? Did you cut those cords, or did somebody find those cords for you? Or both? Someone
found one once, but I'd forgotten about this altogether till just now.
Oh, good. Are you okay to share?
Yeah, I was a pianist and accompanist for a community women's chorus in Austin, and we had a new member who came up to me and said, "I do energy work, and I think you could really use a session. I'll give you one if you'd like." And I thought it was like some sort of massage or something. I was like, yeah, sure.
I'm in.
I'm in. And I walk into her apartment, and she's got two chairs sitting across from each other, and she's recording, and she starts moving her hands in the air and talking about these things. I'm going, what did I just walk into? I can't believe I forgot about this. And I still didn't get it most of the time, because at one point she was talking about someone who was there for me, and I was thinking in the physical. I never did connect that it was that. But at one point she said, "You're corded to your ex-husband. Do you want me to cut this cord?" And I went, "No, I need to be there. We're co-parenting. I can't cut. I just didn't get it. Cut ties." So she said, "Well, instead we'll do this. We'll just send love back through this cord."
Wow, isn't that amazing? Okay. So this was like what, 14, 16 years ago or
Oh,
something.
this was even, it had to be, oh gosh, like.
So they're really connecting to you back then even.
Yes. And so here's the crazy thing. When I left, because at the time we were in two, it wasn't good. The dynamic wasn't good at all. And the next day, our relationship was different. So sending love through that cord impacted how he acted toward me. So it struck me as like, wow, there's really something to that. And she left the choir, and I never saw her again, and then I just put it in the back of my mind. Another one of those breadcrumbs I didn't follow.
Oh.
But I'd forgotten about till just now. It was amazing.
That makes me, I feel like I kind of want to cry a little bit because I feel that it'd be just that energy of love, sending that, the cord. You were like, no, we're co-parenting. I have no clue what you're talking about. Don't cut anything. We're still together in some sense. But like, let's send love back through there. And what an interesting concept. I really love that information. Thank you for sharing that one. Thanks for remembering that. Doing sessions, but you're not really doing sessions. Explain that a little bit, because I'm intrigued with this.
It's a thing where it's like I'm not out here like marketing or doing something like that. It's just like my Reiki practitioner comes and we would do sessions together, and then she said, "I have this friend that would like to come." Oh, okay, come on over, and we do that, and it started like that, and then it became a group of maybe 8. I think the first time I did a group session, there were maybe 8 or 9 people in the group. So most of them I hadn't met before that she brought together, and we did that, and I'm just kind of experimenting with it. Because I have to go into complete trust and allow. It's like that same thing, the awareness that I was talking about when I kind of go behind myself and just observe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. I fall back and just observe, and their consciousness comes in and starts to talk.
Wow.
And initially, it was very physical, like especially the very first time. It was like I could feel the muscles in my face being manipulated and air being inhaled and then exhaled through my voice box. So the words were kind of like mechanical, putting it together. And then it got smoother and smoother. And then it got to where instead of that, it's a little bit of, I can feel the muscles in my face a little bit. I'm more aware of them. But it's more packets of thought that come in.
Packets of thought.
Yeah.
Packets of love, packets of sugar. I don't know why I just thought of that. Packets of sugar.
Yeah. And it is love, let me tell you. I leave those sessions, well, first of all, my pain completely disappears during them, and it takes a little while for it to come back, 5-10 minutes, for that pain body to come back into my awareness.
Oh, wow.
And I am convinced that one of these days, in my sharing and service to others, because that's what I consider it to be, that the pain's just going to go and never return.
That you're going to be done with it because you're still holding on to it for whatever purpose.
Whatever reason.
Yeah,
right.
It's your purpose. And the physical body tells us so much about our belief systems. I love that you brought that up in the beginning. The belief systems are so powerful, aren't they?
They really are.
I mean, what we're told as children is what we believe in. And I always just think, oh my gosh, what do we say to our own children? I have a 9-year-old, and sometimes I stop myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I saying? Sometimes we get stuck in this physical 3D world that sometimes we get lost, that we're all spiritual beings.
It really is. My children are grown now, but I joke with them all the time. I go, oh yeah, sorry about that. Gave you some beautiful stuff to work with on your spiritual path. There you go.
And then I always say, remember, you chose me as your mom. You needed some of these lessons, so it's all good.
Yeah. My prayer is always, thy will be done through me for the sake of sharing.
Ooh.
And if I'm not doing it, I'm not sharing.
Ooh. Can you say that one more time?
Thy will be done through me for the sake of sharing.
Wow. And that's the prayer that you say?
That's my prayer.
Wow.
That's my prayer. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. But you mentioned something about getting out of victim, because that was a really big one for me. And we all have our different patterns, But that to me, in Kabbalah, they call it your tikkun. You came here to solve this particular thing. And mine was victim and abandonment. Ooh. And I still have abandonment come up every so often, but so much better. I bounce back faster. Deborah King teaches that there are defense patterns. They're not who we are. They're who we are not. So we don't need to feel guilty about having them. We don't need to judge ourselves when we recognize we've fallen into one of our patterns. The awareness is something to celebrate. And the more you become aware, the less you fall into them. And then our true self show. So anyway, but a big part of the victim dropping was forgiveness. Huge piece of it. Like, I used to really resent my ex-husband. Now I'm so grateful. He was one of my greatest teachers.
So that's a good one, yeah.
And I'll give you another really good example about how all of our the challenges is a word for it, but then I shift it to it's an opportunity. Every single challenge is an opportunity to discover something within us. I say when somebody really ticks you off, look at them and go, "Thank you." I'll confuse them, but if you can mean it, and then look, why did that trigger me? Yeah, and then also my mother. So my mom was the consummate victim, and unfortunately never escaped it. But very critical, and of course I felt very unloved by her. But my relationship was very healed, not completely, but very healed by the time she passed in 2019. But there was still a piece of it. I could still feel judgment come up into my heart, because to me, your heart's open. As soon as you judge, it slams shut. And that's why it feels so bad, because the energy can't flow through that. So there can be things that you observe that aren't, quote unquote, right in your perception, but you can observe them with compassion instead of judgment and keep your heart open. And I struggled with that for a long time with my mom, and it got so much better. The last year of her life, I really think that she prolonged this horrible last year to give us all an opportunity to heal.
Oh, wow.
And to have the blessings flow from it. But I recently had a cancer scare. And I had a rapidly growing tumor, 2 of them. And then I thought there was 2 types of cancer, and they were like the kind, well, never mind, just say bye. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. First of all, none of this is real yet. That's what you suspect. But I don't have anything concrete that says that's what that is. So I did not claim their thoughts about it. Because of the way that it was acting, they thought that it was this particular cancer, leiomyosarcoma, which is, there is no cure. And I remember telling my daughter, we left the appointment, I said, none of that's real, right?
Yeah.
None of that's confirmed. It is not real unless and until it is. So don't let that worry you. And I was in Kabbalah classes at the time, and part of my guidance system is this: whatever I'm studying, because I've studied from different teachers and different modalities and different things. And in Kabbalah right now, every week when I go to class, the topic of the class ends up being something that is going on in my life at the time.
Oh,
and just so happened that when I got this diagnosis, and you're going to have a surgery, and this is what it'll probably be, and blah, 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 was Hanukkah. And Hanukkah is all about bringing in miracles and mind over matter.
Wow.
And so I dove into that study, and they have a thing in Kabbalah, they call it certainty. In Scripture, they call it the peace that ceases all understanding. In Kabbalah, I call it certainty beyond logic. But I got to a point in my practice where I had certainty beyond logic that everything was going to be fine. Now, sweet spot is this, because surrendering to what is, but the other side is not resisting what it is either, or what it could be. Like, if it is this cancer, it's going to be okay. I mean, everything's perfect. I have certainty, I have trust that all is well. And so everyone going into the surgery, all the family, they were so worried. They bought me caps from when I would be bald from chemo and everything. And the surgeon talked about what would be next, and blah, 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 and all my family's there. And I don't know how to explain it, but coming from a lifelong worrier and victim, on the day of surgery, I had no doubt that everything was going to be okay. I was nervous about the surgery itself, but not the outcome of it. And everything was benign.
Oh, wow.
Now, to put a little cherry on top of that story, part of it was I decided because it was second chakra related, the organs, that I needed to do some work there. So I cleared my space in the house that had to do with relationship and second chakra, and I went to a maternal wound. And I set an intention to see my mother's full humanity and full divinity. Because I could spout all her faults and all the things that happened, even though I didn't have any resentment toward her, I could still spout them off. But I couldn't see her divinity yet. Mm. And in that process, I love my mother so much now. Mm. It's like I felt like if I healed that wound, this wouldn't be cancer.
Wow, that's
and
amazing. Wow.
So shortly after that, I opened up an email, an email. I didn't know who it was from, and it was some society, and they were mourning the loss of one of their founders, and her journey looked so much like mine. And she had died in 4 months from leiomyosarcoma, the cancer they thought I had. And I think that I was led to that story to say, see, that was your journey, but you shifted, and so it wasn't. And I think we have that power in our lives.
I think we all do. Every person has a beautiful piece. And what you just explained was probably so many other people that have gone through something similar to this, either with abandonment, their mother issue, cancer, knowing someone, anything like that. And in sharing this and being as vulnerable as you have been tonight on your stories and your journey is such a blessing, and it's beautiful. And I just want to say thank you so much.
You're welcome. You know, it's funny. I was nervous about coming on and talking and being vulnerable at first. And my class last night in Kabbalah was all about stepping up and sharing.
Of course it was.
Yeah, of course it was.
Why would it not be?
Okay. And it's funny because felt so strong all day long. And because I told them in our workout group, I said, okay, I'm going to do this for accountability. I'm going to do this interview tomorrow, even though I'm fearful of it. And when I said it, my voice was shaking, and I thought I was going to cry. And I was like, where did that come from? I felt so strong all day. But there were just too many synchronicities and signs. And that's the other thing that happens. The more you start to notice and are aware of all the signs and synchronicities, they just start showing up everywhere. And if you trust them, they'll keep showing up, and they'll get louder and bigger and just guide you. I mean, I have to say, I know it sounds strange, but I'm the happiest and the most joy-filled I have ever been in my life. And I'm in a room most of the day, in a bed most of the day. I don't know how to explain it, except it's what happens when you shed the stuff and become your authentic self and connect to the divine. There's just nothing like it.
Wow. Yeah, look how happy you are. And it shows in the love that you've shared with all of us tonight. And just thank you so much, Jules, for everything that you have gone through and your journey, because you are a teacher for us as well, for myself. You know, as I explained, a few shows ago, I've just been dealing with this sorrow, and I just cannot figure out what it is. I've been just going back down into my meditation stronger. And I've been really solid about staying in that meditation. But what I did was I started shifting and saying in my prayer before my meditation on how grateful I am for everyone in my life and the situations, and trying to hold that sorrow. And I've been rocking that sorrow. I know it sounds super silly, but, I'm open and I'm vulnerable just as you are. And I think that, other people go through similar situations. I mean, we're human. We have all kinds of things thrown at us all the time. And, sometimes those things stick and we, feel it. So and I just started just being grateful, feeling a little bit of shift. And you've talked about cords tonight, which made me go, oh, that's right. I need to make sure that I do go through and cut some of the cords that maybe are attached to me, because we attach cords even if we get upset at someone. That cord instantly attaches. And if we don't cut it, then it's still feeding some energy through there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I loved you intuitively went to gratitude, because what I'm beginning to do a little quicker, but not always, is that when I'm faced with something going to, oh, this is going to bring a blessing. Thank you for this. To hold that sorrow and gratitude for the gift that it's going to provide once it unfolds is a beautiful, it's a beautiful way to get it to unfold, I think. That's perfect. I love that.
Oh, well, I am so grateful for you tonight for sharing and being vulnerable, like I said before. Jules, thank you so much. I look forward to maybe touching bases with you closer to the end of the year, see how your journey is, see what's been going on. You can stream us every Monday night at 10 p.m. Central on kwvh.org. That is in Wimberley, Texas. It's a local radio station. I'm Tanya Tyler. My email, if you have any questions for Jules or anything I can pass along, please email me openthei13@gmail.com. And that is like the eyeball, and that's the number 13 at gmail.com. Jules, thank you so much. And I hope that your beautiful 2024 is just magnificent. And will you come back on sometime in the future?
I would be honored to. Thank you so much.